guys so much for tuning in to this show. This is our second interview ever. This is a vision that's been crystallizing for a few years now, and it's just really exciting to finally be moving forward with this podcast. The name of the organization is TribaLights. Our mission really is to heal the world through all-inclusive support groups. We have some future plans of creating residential healing centers, and then eventually the main purpose is to lead people into sustainable eco-villages. So in order to get there, there's a lot of steps along the way, and I found that participating in support groups is just an amazing way to create community, and seeing how AA has just been able to create this environment where anybody can have their own understanding of what God is and still have this common purpose of achieving sobriety ultimately. I just wanted to take it to this next step and creating that same community. So all-inclusive support groups, meaning whatever problems that we're facing, we can all use these common solutions, because I do believe that we have a lot more in common than we do things that keep us separate from one another. So that's really what this podcast is about today, is the human condition. So what are the things that we all share? And in order to do that, I'm going to ask Anna a lot of questions that have to do with the human condition. That way the viewers out there can find that common ground, and we can all learn to have a little more compassion for one another, and see the similarities, and then also through our own experience and disclosing that, we may learn from each other's experience. And it's going to offer that to us today, and then towards the end she's going to give a more thorough introduction as far as what she's up to in the world currently. So let's...
Well, first and foremost, thank you, Phoenix. Thank you so much for having me today. And I love what you're doing. I love what you're creating. I love what you're manifesting. And it's completely aligned with my mission and what I'm currently working on. And I really appreciate it. And I'm honored to be here today with you. And I wish you all the best with your podcast. And I hope it's going to be turned into something exactly what you're working on. And it's going to spread internationally and going to impact many people's lives. And I'm here to support you on your journey and here to help you as much as I can.
Thank you so much. Awesome. So we're going to get right into it. So within the human condition, the first aspect of that is birth. So tell us about the circumstances around your birth.
So it all started, I immigrated to the United States 15 years ago, and I am half Russian and half Armenian, so I lived half of my life in Russia and another half I lived in Armenia. And I come originally from a family with money, because my father, he was a very well-known doctor, he was a surgeon in Armenia, so that's what I was originally accustomed for. However, when I immigrated to United States, things have changed drastically, because my father, he left his career as a doctor. He made that sacrifice, so to speak, for us to immigrate here. So I know I kind of skipped the whole birth part, I got straight to it, but there's a reason why I started with that.
How old were you when you came over?
So I was, so you asked me how old I was. So I was 14 years old when I came to the United States, and I experienced a lot of culture shock, definitely. And yes.
So what was the first memory you remember having when you were over, was it Ukraine?
I was in Russia. It's Rostov-on-Don, and Armenia, the capital of Armenia. No, it's okay. Yeah.
So what was one of your first memories as a child growing up?
I remember that I was a very social child, even back then. I had a lot of friends, and I had a lot of friends, and both in Russia and Armenia, and I would travel back and forth. And I also remember that I was loved, definitely a feeling of love and support by my parents, and definitely a lot of support from my father back then, because I had a tutor in every subject. I had tutor in math and English and chemistry and Armenian, because Armenian was always, I was a straight A student, but when it came to Armenian, it was a different story. So I was, backward a little bit. So I went to Russian school. However, all the topics, I mean, to Armenian school, but all the subjects were taught in Russian because Russian is the second language in Armenia. So that's how it works.
Interesting.
Yeah. So Armenian is my second language. So Russian is my first language, Armenian is my second language, and English is my third language.
It's interesting. I know I've met a lot of foreigners, and I'm sure many people out there can relate with the transition of having to move and go through these big changes. So I'm curious. So that has to do with growing up, and the next process in the human condition has to do with aspiration. So what do you remember was the first thing you wanted to be when you grew up? Do you recall?
You know what? I honestly, to be honest with you, I know. Like I was just a very social kid, but I never had that specific idea of who I wanted to become. I was just going to school. I was a student. I was good to school. I was very social. I was good friends, surrounded by lots of friends, and and having a good time, and just being a happy kid. But I really believe that back then I wasn't even thinking about that, to be honest with you. I don't, at least I don't recall specifically. It just doesn't, it's not coming to me right now, to answer your question.
Yeah, that's fine. Alright, so the next part of the interview, it gets a little deeper.
Okay, let's
So,
do this. I'm ready.
Yeah.
Take me there. Take
now
me
that we
there.
got a little warm up.
Yes.
So aspiration, the next part is emotionality.
Okay.
So everyone out there has all experienced pain and grief, anger, these lower emotions.
Yes.
And so I want to see if you can remember the first time your heart was broken.
That happened when I came to the United States. Because prior to coming to the United States, like I said, I was a happy kid. I was just focused on school, my friends. And then huge transitional period happened when I immigrated here, and I experienced huge culture shock, and it took me some time to adapt because I had a huge accent when I came here, and I was very, very insecure. I was very, very shy. I was a shy kid, so when I came here, I was afraid, to raise my hand in school, in high school, and then I adapted, slowly but surely I adapted, and I got used to the whole idea of the United States, because coming from Russia to the United States, it's a whole different dynamics on so many levels. We're talking about two different worlds. We're talking about language-wise, culture-wise, just completely different. So that's something that I had to adapt to, and also I was always used to be surrounded by many friends because I was very, very social, and I came here, and all of a sudden I don't know anybody here, and everything's just so foreign, so new. So it took me some time to adapt. So I guess to answer your question, go back to your question, on an emotional level, I think I was dealing with a lot of, it was an adaptation period for me.
Did you blame anybody for that?
No, actually, no, I didn't. I was just working on adapting myself. I don't believe I did. No.
And did you experience a relationship within the United States that led to a heartbreak? There was a series of relationships. Definitely, there's a lot of trauma. There's a lot of trauma around relationships that I have experienced. And I've done a ton of, and we're gonna get into it later, but I've done a lot of internal work on myself to deal with that. And we're talking about ayahuasca, we're talking about holotropic breathing, we're talking about Reiki, we're talking about other energy work with various healers. And again, we're going to get into more details about what I do currently a little later towards the end of the interview. I'm going to let you take charge because you're in charge. Switching roles today, usually I'm the one facilitating and facilitating. She's giving up the power.
I'm giving up the power.
Well, I'll let you get into more of it later. So
yes.
I'm going to move on to the next question.
Please do.
So it has to do with conflict. That's something that we all experience.
Yes.
And I'll let you take the question however you want.
Yes.
For me, I remember the first conflict in my life happened when my viewpoint, my belief system didn't line up with somebody else's.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like a big conflict for me. I used to think that everybody kind of believed in the same thing. And so once I realized that no, this person actually had a completely different belief system, it challenged my whole world. And so I wanted to see if you remember that, or if there was like an argument that you remember specifically early on.
Yes, and it's actually a perfect question, because I'm going to take us more deeper. That's going to take us to the next question, what's the transition period in my life. But to answer your current question, when it comes to conflict, I was having a lot of conflict with my mother, who, and again, I'm going to get into that later, my mom passed away from cancer 5 years ago, which the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing today. But I did not have a good relationship with my mother. And again, that's something else that, of course, I've healed and I've worked on internally, but I did not have a good bond with my mother. We're talking about mother-daughter relationship dynamic. I unfortunately did not have that. We would have a lot of conflicts with her, and I think that would be that's the one that would answer your question. With my mom, that affected me and that traumatized me on a deep subconscious level. And my mom would actually say something on multiple occasions when we would have fights, and she would be angry with me. I know she didn't mean it, because I know she loved me, but she would say multiple times to me, I should have had an abortion. And then when you say that to not to a child, but to a teenager, to a teenage girl, that definitely affects her in a very, very negative way, and it goes to your deep subconscious, and that affects your, obviously your self-esteem, and on a very, very, very deep level. So you wanted to go deep, I'm going deep.
No, thank you. And I think a lot of people out there could appreciate you being vulnerable, and that's really one of the intentions of this show, is to allow the people we know into our lives, and seeing that, we are also human. I think a lot of us light workers out there were portrayed as these brilliant, bright leaders, and
Absolutely.
really positive, but no, like that is only that way because of what we've been through.
Absolutely.
And so for the people out there that may still be in that suffering, to offer them a glimpse of hope of, we were there also, and we're going to get into what we did, the tools that we have, and not all these tools are meant for everybody out there, but the fact is that we're all seeking happiness.
Exactly.
It's part of the human experience.
But specifically for the light workers and for the healers, for the intuitive healers, that are for people who are on a mission to really heal people, to help people, we wouldn't be where we are today if we wouldn't go through a lot of trauma, through a lot of those traumatic experiences. We just wouldn't.
Right.
And they were brought into our lives, those traumatic experiences, negative experiences were brought to us specifically preparing us for what we're currently doing, preparing us for our current missions to really impact humanity. Because otherwise, we would not be able to make a difference. We just wouldn't. Because we wouldn't be mentally, physically, emotionally prepared for it.
Yeah, I agree. So this is the last question before we get into your awakening specifically.
Perfect.
And it's something that none of us have experienced yet, but ultimately we will, and that's mortality. And nobody here is immortal. We all will die. And so there's usually a specific person in our lives that has impacted us in this process of death. I know you mentioned your mother dying, and
Yes.
I just want to see if you want to go into that more, or
Yes.
if you would like to remember back to the first person that affected you when they died,
Yes.
and how that affected you.
Well, it was definitely my mother. It was definitely my mother's death. Like I said, I lost my mom to cancer. She had stage 4 cancer, and she was fighting for a year and a half, and then breast cancer metastasized into her brain. And I was there to experience the whole process. And I literally saw my mom transition from a very beautiful, very active woman to, it was just, the image just did not match. It was no over her. And that impacted me in a huge way, because after losing my mom, I immersed myself into my spiritual practice, which led me to where I am today. So the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing today, which again, I'm gonna get into that later, is because of my losing my mother. And that shifted things for me drastically. And I was no longer the same woman that I used to be before my spiritual practice in all aspects.
Yeah, death is definitely something that affects us pretty dramatically. Unfortunately, it seems like many of us move through our lives thinking that we are immortal, really not being grateful for every day that we have until we're affected in this way where we realize, this person is not going to be here. And I just wanted to offer that because that's something that we do all have in common. And, it can be looked at one or two ways. It can be something that is encouraging us to be more grateful in every moment, or, we can be a victim. And so I think that you've chose to gain something from that experience. So
absolutely. I've all the pain, all the trauma that I've experienced, I've transcended myself, and I've turned it, instead of having a victim mentality, oh poor me, my mother died, and now I can get into my father dynamic and body dynamic. That's a whole different discussion there. I'm not even going to get there, but basically all the pain, all the trauma in my life when I came to my past relationship with men, and sexual harassment, not gonna get into it, and sexual abuse. I dealt with all that, I've healed through that, and I'm still, till this day, I'm implementing various healing techniques, because it all affects us, like I said, on a deep subconscious level.
Right.
So now I'm involved in nonprofit work, which we support from Women Like Us Foundation, which is on my page, you can check it out. We support sex trafficking victims and women in Kenya to get female mutilation in Kenya, so we support those women. Or from my PR consulting and event production work, I work with intuitive healers now, and I'm on a mission of really healing people and impacting people's lives and educating them and enlightening them through my work, through the work that I do. Why do I do all of that? Because I've been to the other side. I've experienced that. I've experienced depression. I've experienced anxiety attacks. I was suicidal. I was there, and now I'm helping those people. But I was there when my mom died, and again, I'm so calm and collected now because I've done a lot of internal work. Before, when I would talk about my mom passing, I couldn't talk calmly without crying. I would cry, tears would go down my face, I would cry. But now, because of the amount of meditation I've done, and again, lots of other healing techniques, now I can calmly talk about it. Not because I don't care, just because I just train my brain, to look at it from a different perspective. My mom is gone, but she left her physical form, but she's still pretty much alive. She's pretty much alive in a different dimension, and she's my guardian angel, because I'm guided and protected. I mean, Archangel Michael comes to my meditations, and I have so many amazing angels here on earth. And
this is all fairly new to you, right? Within the last 5 years.
Yeah.
This whole new dimension has opened up to you.
Yes, absolutely.
And so I'm curious though, like where this started,
Because spiritual
obviously
yes.
something big happened, like it does in many of our lives.
Yes.
And for you, it was your mother's death.
Yes.
And so what that would be referred to in the process of relating this experience to the rest of the people out there,
Yes.
not trying to be so woo-woo with this idea of awakening and how this could be something massively huge, and like you see the light and there's this big shift, and all of a sudden like the angels just descend, and I think a lot of people think like this is what awakening means, or spiritual awakening, and really it doesn't have to be that way. It really, for the purpose of this show and finding that common ground, we're just going to say awakening is just the process of releasing lower emotions and choosing higher emotions like happiness and joy and peace, and clarity and ease, and all these, like laughter, and all those emotions have their contrasting emotion too. So it's up to us really to choose these, and in order to do that, we can't just will it. There are tools, there are philosophies, and there are many paths, right? And so we're going to get into your path.
Yes.
And figure out, where did it start?
Yes. So it started right before my mom died. So she was already she was in a very very bad state. So she was already referred to the hospice. That was after chemo. That was after multiple surgeries, after chemo, after radiation. She was referred to the hospice, and then right before she died, I would say maybe, I don't remember exactly, but maybe a couple of weeks. And I found out from the online platform, and that was actually a very dark, I was in a very dark place in my life. Back then I was depressed, I felt like I was running in circles, working in the corporate world, I was not passionate about it. I don't want to use the word hate, but I definitely, it was just not passionate, it was just
not resonating with it.
Not, let's say resonating, I was not resonating with it, let's use that, yes. And so I really truly believe that a guardian angel, he reached out to me via an online platform and said like, hey, we're going to be having this webinar, and it was actually from Russia. So I started signing in. So long story short, the topics were about Kundalini yoga and awakening, and you must find your guru. And back then I knew nothing about yoga and meditation. Like, what, it was all foreign, very foreign. I'm like, what are they talking about? But it felt interesting because, like I said, I was a very dark place in my life. I was depressed. I didn't want to get up in the morning. I was like, what's the point? And all of a sudden, that information just seemed very intrigued. So I joined the webinar, and I started learning about Kundalini yoga, and I contacted somebody, a friend of mine, and I reached out to him and said like, hey, I would like to learn about Kundalini yoga. Do you have an instructor? I'm looking for an instructor. I want to find somebody per referral. So he sent me to Kundalini yoga instructor, and I started taking classes with her, and her name, I'm going to plug her in. Her name is Maria Kalinina. Thank you, Maria. If you're going to watch this video. Thank you. So Maria Kalinina, she's been teaching Kundalini yoga for many, many years. Incredible woman, incredible instructor. So I started taking classes with her, and then another teacher came into my space from a friend, and then her name is Irina Ananda Suter. So Irina, later when you're gonna watch this, hello. Thank you. So I started taking classes with her, and then it was a small group, and then the small group merged expanded into a bigger group.
So it was mainly Kundalini yoga.
It was Kundalini yoga.
What was that experience like for you?
Things started shifting right away. So things started shifting right away, and I could feel the difference right away. Things just started shifting. Certain people, these higher frequencies started coming to my space because I started attracting them, and I started shifting my mindset because I started meditating, started doing Kundalini yoga meditation, all sorts of meditation, prosperity meditation, stress relief, pranayama. I mean, everything incorporated into Kundalini yoga, and I really immersed myself in that. And then my spiritual awakening happened when my healing, my right hand got activated, and then also my heart chakra, my anahata expanded when I went to 4-day retreat. It was a friend of mine, and it was in Nevada, California, and it was Jai Dev Singh. And then it's like it is that name, and then incredible instructor, and love him. Him and his wife did this incredible community, and I'm so grateful for that experience. So there are people writing, I don't know, we cannot see you from here, so I'm just going to read it later. We're live, yes. And it's actually being recorded on another video, but I decided to do Facebook Live, so for my Facebook family, for my community. And I think maybe we're shifting, that's what they're saying. But anyway, that's not a big deal. So going back to the question. So yes, it started with Kundalini yoga, and then things started shifting, and then I started doing meditation practice, and I started meditating and Reiki healing, and I did Reiki healing in regards to my mother's death, so healing around my mother's death. Then I did 2 ayahuasca, I'm not sure if I can say, but ayahuasca, my friend Alan Torres, he talks a lot about that, so 2 ayahuasca ceremonies, and I did a lot of healing again around my mother's death and about past relationship. So things just started shifting for me as I immersed myself in Kundalini yoga practice. Wow. I shifted my mindset, and I transformed myself. I became a completely different woman. Wow. I stopped doing things that I was doing. I used to be promoter. I used to be a club promoter, and I'd go out and party and drink. I mean, I've never done any drugs, but things just shifted. I was just no longer interested in that. I was no longer interested in having that lifestyle. And then when my mom and I actually lost my mom, then I decided to make it my life's mission. I'm on a mission to heal people. I'm on a mission to impact people's lives because my mom is gone. And I truly believe that if I had access to those people, to those specialists who I'm working with today, Dr. Antoine Chevalier and Vitaly Svidridev and many other people, I would have, perhaps there's a chance, perhaps, that I could have saved my mother. I really genuinely believe that. So I'm going to let you ask the next
amazing.
question.
I really honor your path. You shared a lot there. And, I think there are many paths, but yoga, is a really popular way that people that don't necessarily have to experience the depth and the amount of trauma in order to be led onto that path, they have access to that. And so, is there any specific advice you would give anybody out there that is going to yoga and hasn't really had the powerful shift in awareness?
I would say if you're just getting started, if you're interested in getting on the spiritual journey, first and foremost, you must find a spiritual guide. You must find a spiritual mentor. You must find somebody who is going to guide you through the process, because there's just so many different ways how you can immerse yourself in the spiritual journey. There's yoga, there's meditation. It doesn't have to be necessarily Kundalini yoga. It can be a different type of yoga. It can be a different type of meditation. Just find something that feels aligned with who you are. That's the most important part.
Yeah. And is there any, out of that whole awakening process, there's many gifts that you've been given.
Yes, absolutely.
That could be peace of mind, or,
Yes.
or a drive to do more, just unconditional love. What would you say would be the biggest gift that this awakening has given you?
I have learned, there's so many. Can I list a couple?
Top three.
Top three, okay. Okay, number one, I have learned how to fully love myself. Number two, I have learned how to forgive and how to let go everybody who have ever caused me any pain, have ever wronged me, my ex-boyfriends and people, friends and business-wise, and I completely learned how to let go of all of that. Let go and forgive, and to send them love. Really send them love, because I understand that all of that happened. There was a higher purpose for me to go through all that pain and through all that trauma and through all that disappointment. There was a reason for it. So number one, self-love. Number two, forgiveness. And number three, I'm thankful for I'm third eye activated, so I'm very intuitive. So and what I mean by that, I feel people energetically, I can see their energetic fields, and that helps me a lot in business. So, but I would say self-love and forgiveness, those are the main ones.
Yeah. I think that's the same for a lot of us, really having this experience that it's almost like a new freedom. We're no longer held kind of prisoner to our own emotions, resentments that we carry. It's said in a program that a resentment is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to get sick. And to be free of that, to really just allow people to be themselves and however that our egos might be acting,
Exactly.
and still have that love and forgiveness, knowing we've also sometimes still act in those ways. And I feel like if we could all just have this awareness, really this higher awareness and more compassion for one another, knowing that we all act in these different ways, and just honoring each other's paths, knowing that ultimately we're all going to die, and so why not just have
leave something behind. Exactly. And that's definitely, I can relate to that. I want to, once I leave this physical body, I want to make sure that I've made some sort of an impact. I've made an impact, knowing that I love the physical body, but I've made an impact. So it's not always just about me, making money on nice cars and houses and this and that. I'm still doing that. I'm still enjoying my life. I fully, embody myself, and I enjoy my life every single day. But I'm on the path and I'm following my path and I'm accomplishing whatever I want to accomplish, manifest, 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 manifest. So I completely, couldn't agree more.
So let's get into all
Yes.
these beautiful manifestations. We're about done with the interview, and I just want to make sure we honor Anna's time for being here and give her an opportunity to just share what she's up to. She's doing so much in the community. We had a talk on the way here, and I just want you to give the audience here
Sure.
an opportunity to learn more about what you're up to.
Thank you. So I'm currently working, so I'm an entrepreneur and I'm currently branding myself as PR consulting in the word of non-holistic, and I'm sorry, holistic, but non-traditional. I was going to say non-traditional and holistic, I combined the two. Non-traditional holistic medicine. So I'm working with intuitive healers. I'm currently working with Dr. Anton Chevalier, and you can check out his website on my page. There's a link there. It talks about the work that he does. He's an incredible healer. He works for the White House. He's been working for the White House for a duration of 17 years, and we're currently working on healing. I do public relations for him, and he heals people, kids from autism. He works with drug addicts. He works with homeless veterans, people who suffer from brain tremors, and we're talking about curing permanently. So we're talking about, my phone is showing a slow battery. I hope it's not going to die, but it's okay because we have to grab out the recording. So he permanently cures those individuals and impacts so many people's lives. It's incredible. So that's PR consulting. Other part that I do is event production in the world of mindfulness. So I produce workshops, seminars, events. I produce mindfulness events targeted towards mindset. There's an event coming up on February 24th. I'm going to be co-producing it with my friend and partner Casey Wisdom, and it's going to be in Santa Monica. It's going to be from 9 to 5. I'm going to be posting more information later on once we finalize our keynote. It's going to be a spectacular event. The first part of the event is going to be heal your mindset, and second part is going to be about investment and funding. So you're in for a treat, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm focused on that. So like I said, my life's mission is to heal people and to raise Earth's frequency. So I really incorporate that through my work, and I also do nonprofit work through Women Like Us Foundation. So that's just to give a generic idea about what I currently do and what I'm working on. And we're going to be spreading into Russia, Ukraine, and then I have plans to spread into India, Thailand, and just go internationally with my brand.
A busy woman.
Yes, I am. And my boyfriend, he can confirm that if he's watching this video right now. He can confirm how busy I am.
Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for tuning in. We have our live audience. Thank you all for participating in the chat. And again, I'm Phoenix Thunderbird. This is TribaLights, Paths to Awakening podcast. We'll have some more guests in the future. Please, please, please to follow our mission, our journey. Which is to create these all-inclusive support groups, really just to grow this dynamic of support through community, through human connection. Really is this powerful ability to heal one another just by sharing, by listening, sharing our experiences to benefit others. It's powerful, very powerful. There's so much to be said with that dynamic, and really just wanting to make that available to as many people out there. So if you want to come to one of our groups on Tuesdays or Thursdays at Share Culver City or Share Downtown, you can find the details on the TribaLights Facebook page, also on TribaLights.org. And this whole interview will be posted on the TribaLights YouTube page, where I would ask anybody out there that wants to follow this mission to please subscribe. And yeah, we're going to be doing some amazing things in the future. This is a nonprofit. We're going to be raising money for residential healing centers and creating sustainable eco-villages is the ultimate vision. So
It's amazing. I can already see it happening. It's happening. It's already happening.
yeah.
I can feel it. I can see it. It's coming. Thank you again, Phoenix. Thank you so much. I'm glad that our paths are crossed. And this is definitely soul connection here, cosmic family. And thank you. Thank you for having me here today. And thank you for letting me share my story. And like I said, any way I can support your vision and your mission, me and my brothers and sisters are right behind you. So thank you and have a blessed day, everybody.
Yes, thank you all. Much love.
Thank you.